Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
8:36 now on O'Connor and Company on a busy Friday in your nation's capital. Coming up in 30 minutes, it's the Chris Plant Show. I'm Larry O'Connor alongside Patrice Onwuka. Good morning, Patrice.
Good morning. Happy Friday.
Yeah, it is a happy Friday, and really something to behold, certainly for Catholics here in America and worldwide, but specifically in America, as we have our first Pope born in America. An American man from Chicago is now Pope Leo XIV. Joining us now to give us his perspective is Father Monsignor Paul deLadurantaye. He's the Chancellor of the Diocese of Arlington, a fine diocese. I'm very jealous of your diocese, actually, Monsignor. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Larry. Good morning. Good morning, Patrice.
So,
good morning, Larry.
Good morning.
I mean, did you think in your lifetime, Father, that you would see an American-born Pope?
Honestly, no. I was surprised, when they made the announcement. It's obviously a historic moment, but I wondered whether ever there would be a Pope from the United States. I think the cardinals historically have been kind of reluctant to choose a Pope from the United States, but clearly former Cardinal Prevost, Pope Leo XIV now, had the qualities they were looking for. So it's a great day for not only Catholics in the U.S., but Catholics everywhere.
Can you shed a little light on the reluctance to consider an American Pope? Because people will hear that and think it's automatically some sort of European knee-jerk, anti-American sort of response. But I think it goes deeper than that, doesn't it?
I think it does. I think you look back historically, during the Cold War period, the two superpowers, the U.S. and the Soviet Union, and on the geopolitical stage, those were the major players, as it were. And I think when it came time to elect the Pope, the cardinals did not want the Church to be kind of equated with a superpower in the religious sense. So there was that, historic reluctance to select a Pope from the United States. But now the world has changed. There's a different situation. And I think in part because Pope Leo had spent much of his priesthood outside the United States, the cardinals were looking at him as a man who had missionary experience and global experience, and not primarily thinking of him as, a U.S. cardinal, but rather one who had served for many years in Peru, served for many years in Rome, had come into contact with people from around the world, bishops from around the world, and I think that weighed heavily in their minds and in their choices.
Father, I'm always curious, what happens with the local congregation, the local diocese, when you have a new pope? Is there new invigoration? Are there new, I won't say orders passed down, but is there guidance that's provided to you as the leader of your flock? And what happens with the flock itself? Is there new energy?
Well, I think that's always the case, Patrice, no matter who is elected pope. There's when one Pope dies, as Pope Francis did, there's that sense of losing a father. One of the ways in which Catholics address the Pope is to call him Holy Father. So the Pope is truly a father, to us all, to our family and the Church. And when he's not there, we feel that sense of loss for losing a father, but also the sense of anticipation and excitement as the Church looks towards the election of a new Holy Father. So that energy, that inspiration, I think, would be there no matter who was elected. But in terms of specific guidance, no, not yet. What we kind of look to is what Pope Leo has already said, first in his appearance on the balcony of St. Peter's, and then earlier this morning in Rome, celebrating Mass with the cardinals in the Sistine Chapel. He spoke a lot about yesterday on the balcony, building bridges, and reminded us that that's what the word pontiff means, a bridge builder. So we take our cue from that to build a bridge between God and humanity, and also within humanity, within the different peoples of the world. And then this morning at Mass, Pope Leo said that one of the things that's important is kind of disappear, as it were, to look to Christ and let Christ shine through. And he said, I address these words, first of all, to myself, that he takes a step back, as it were, to let the Lord increase. And then he said, this is what all of us, certainly as Catholics, but even more generally as Christians, are called to do, to let the light of Christ increase and shine more brightly in the world.
We're speaking with Monsignor Paul deLadurantaye. He's the Chancellor of the Diocese of Arlington. And just to follow up on that point, Monsignor, there seems to be a resurgence of interest in the Catholic Church, and specifically some of the more traditional liturgies and the smells and bells, as is often described in the Catholic Church, compared to some of the non-denominational or evangelical churches in America. And it's young people in their 20s. I see it palpably in your archdiocese, as you know, your diocese. I know so many 20-something Catholics who come to D.C. or are from this area who are really reinvigorated in the church. I know you see it in your pews. The naming of an American cardinal as now the Pope, I've got to think that may translate into even more excitement and more sort of recruitment, let's say, for the American Catholic Church.
Well, I think that's our prayer. That's our hope. The mission of the Church is to evangelize, to proclaim the gospel, to, as Jesus commissioned his apostles to do, to go into the world and make disciples of all nations. So that's what we're trying to do, locally here in Arlington and in the Washington metro area. So I would hope and pray that there would be that resurgence of interest and the numbers of the faithful would grow.
Not that it's a competition, Monsignor, but I know a lot of Catholics who live in D.C. who cross the Potomac for your diocese because it's such a wonderful, wonderful, welcoming place. And you're doing a great job.
We're blessed that way, thanks be to God.
We appreciate you joining us, and let's enjoy
so
this moment. It's really something to behold. Thank you, sir.
All right, very good. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Patrice.